Texas Tech second-year head coach Joey Maguire is upsetting the apple cart in Lone Star State college football recruiting, kind of stepping in there and taking the thunder away from guys like Jimbo Fisher and Steve Sarkisian too. We got to talk about it.
Let's go!
Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football. I have a very special guest with me today. We are talking Texas Tech football. I couldn't think of a better person to get on the show. He's a good friend of mine, the sports editor of the Midland, Texas Reporter Telegram, Mr. Oscar LeRoy. Oscar, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, look, something that, I've been really astounded most of the year since he got hired. I got to tell you, I didn't know a ton about Joey Maguire. He had been a high school coach for a while whenever I was covering the Big 12 before. So I can't tell you that I knew him that well. What I know about him now is that this is a guy that is able to motivate and draw people towards him in a way that very few do, particularly at a place like Texas Tech. Now, I don't want anybody to think that I'm taking shots at Lubbock or taking shots at Tech in this at all. I grew up in this area. I have no problems with either of them. What I would tell you is that having covered the program, even during the Mike Leach years, there's just not a lot of people that are able to inspire and bring in these kind of players that you've seen Joey Maguire bring in the last, just since he got there, this going into his second season as head coach.
Joey Maguire is just a different cat. He's got more bravado than most people have in their pinky finger. It's like, he's just one of those kind of guys that brings a lot of excitement. He brings a sense of belief to the players and to the recruits. They just follow his every lead. He's got them believing in every game. He tells them, believe in what's next. It's kind of like, if there's a bad play, what's next? If there's a good play, what's next? And that's the attitude that team has brought. And he's just bringing a lot of excitement to not only the fan bases, but to also the recruiting. And it's so much different than what you've seen in the past, because you had Matt Wells there, who probably acted like an outsider, and then Cliff Kingsbury, as much as he wanted to succeed there, he just didn't bring the excitement that maybe that program needed. And with Mike Leach, he was a genius offensive guy, but also he wasn't the guy that could sell the program, like Joey Maguire can.
That I've been the most surprised with is that the fact of what they're doing out there on the recruiting trail, as we talked about precast. When you've got a guy that the number one receiver and a legacy guy, but it's not really something that you really expect for the number one receiver to end up at a school like Texas Tech when you've got Texas, Oklahoma in there on him. And aside from programs all throughout the country, this kid could play anywhere. Micah Hudson appears, for all intents and purposes, to be going to be a Texas Tech guy. He has shut down his recruiting pretty much. He's not going to go on an official visit as of right now to Austin and Texas. They've been very high on him. You even have the recruiting gurus out of Texas saying that he's going to be a Texas Tech guy. What does that say to you about what they're doing recruiting wise around Lubbock?
They're doing a good job selling the program. That's what Maguire is just knows how to do. He just his personality. I'm telling you, it's infectious. When you get around that guy, you can see how much passion he has. He's a Texas born and bred guy. He's talking that he wants to stay at Tech forever. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But you can just see it. You can just feel it. The way he just talks about the program, and it's like I think coaches coaches and high school coaches, they know the guy for one because he was the head of the Texas High School Coaches Association.
Right.
And that's a big organization here, so they trust him. And then two, recruits and young guys, 17, 18-year-old kids are going to be impressed by him. It's just the way he is. That bravado is just, boy, that's this guy. I know I can win with this guy.
Right.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't coach at Texas or Oklahoma or any other big name program. It's like he's telling them the fact that, yeah, we can win. We can win the Big 12. And they're buying it. I mean, they're buying it. And it's like these kids are just.
Listen, he said
on social media.
One of the things that I remember the most from that first season was the Big 12 championship comes through Lubbock. And he said it loud. He said it proud in that locker room. After that Texas win, that was one of the big things that you heard him say. It's coming through Lubbock. But it's easy to get those guys behind you when everything's going great, right? We kind of talked about that earlier. It's easy to do that. But they did have some stumbles. They had some issues keeping their quarterbacks healthy last year. I think that had a lot to do with what their record ended up being at the end. But when you see the way that they got down against Oklahoma by 17 and still found a way to come back, get it to overtime and win the game, it tells you a lot about even through adversity, they're still buying into what these guys are selling them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that what's next mentality. They bought into that, They were down against Texas too. And the stumbles, a lot of it had to do with quarterback play, but there were also times that they went for it on fourth down that maybe they shouldn't have. TCU being one of those games where you were like, what are they doing?
They had that one too, man. It felt like they had that game, right?
Yeah, they had one questionable call go against them, but still, going for it on fourth down at your own 30-yard line or whatever, It's not a smart thing to do. It doesn't matter, especially on the road. It's one thing to do it when you're at home and you got the fans behind you, but when you're on the road and, it's just kind of hard to, overcome that if things don't go your way.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. We kind of talked about a little earlier, talking about how TCU had to get some breaks here and there in order for their season to turn into what it was. Could you see that maybe be? I mean, here, when you start looking at the hierarchy of what people are expecting, the prognostications and stuff for this Big 12 season, the last one for Oklahoma and Texas, before they leave off to the SEC, a lot of people have Texas Tech as a dark horse pick to make it to that conference championship game this season. I think that most people feel like they're going to be better the year after that, but I don't think that there's a ton of people that would be that surprised, myself included, if you saw them get to that point. Now, obviously, to me, if you're looking at who's got the most talent, the rosters, Texas and Oklahoma do. But you better not be how did I put this? We had Tim Fitzgerald on the other night. There's no way that I'm going to put it past Kansas State making it there. They're the defending champions. They got Will Howard coming back. I think that Chris Klieman is one of the best coaches in the country. And I also feel like, I think that Joey McGuire is selling this to people to the point that you're going to see them. I think that the rest of the league, they should be able to handle. I think that their big games are going to be at Texas, and then obviously the Kansas State game. You could very well see them competing for it this year. Whether they get there or not this year is neither here nor there, but would it surprise anybody? I don't think so. I feel like this is a good opportunity for him, man. And I've been saying it a lot to people around there. This guy's no joke. I guess the question I would have for you is, can they keep him in Lubbock? Do you really feel like they can keep him there? Because if we talked about Sark a little bit, and you and I are kind of in agreement there that he wasn't the best hire for Texas, right? I think he does a great job recruiting. and I think they like him at Texas. But I think that you could see them, do that knee-jerk Texas thing and fire him. And I can't imagine another guy that you would see them going after other than Joey McGuire. Will he resist that?
That's the $1 million question. He talks like he wants to be at Texas Tech for the rest of his life.
Right.
I think he's sincere in a lot of ways. But I'm sure if a program like Texas or even a Texas A&M come calling, with a lot of money, is it going to be, enough for him to go and say, maybe I'll I've done all I could here at Texas Tech. I'm going to go try to do that at Texas or at Texas A&M.
Sure.
But as of right now, he wants to build up the program. So at Texas Tech, so that might be a few years down the road.
Right.
That
might be the good thing about it is that he hasn't had enough time to really do what. I mean, it looks great now because when you've got we talked about this, but let's talk about this some more. It seems like this program right here and this staff is stacking quarterback talent in a way that not a lot of programs in the entire country are able to do with the way that the transfer portal and NIL is. I mean, you're talking about, you've got, you had a 3-star athlete, according to everybody prior to last weekend, go into Elite 11, win two of the events there. The biggest one being obviously the velocity. That he was the most impressive guy there that didn't win the thing. I think everybody kind of expected what they got from Dylan Raiola. Same thing with the kid that ended up winning it, the Alabama kid. But you got a kid that comes in as a 3-star and they said Caleb Williams and Penix were hyped up about watching this kid play. Generally speaking, you're not going to see a lot of guys stacking up, but they're stacking. I mean, you've got what's the backup's name again? Behren Morton, right? That kid's got a lot of talent too, right?
Yeah.
And then Tyler Shough has shown that he can play. The kids that you've got Coach Kitley there, the offensive coordinator, that they seem to believe in this guy as one of the top play callers in the country. How much of that do you think has to do with what they're doing in the recruiting is the fact that they've got, coaches like this and, they're selling it obviously, but are you surprised at the way that they've been able to stack these quarterbacks up like that?
Not necessarily, because they have done in the past. Of course, it hasn't been since Mike Leach era, but they've had really good quarterbacks. Will Hammond, the quarterback you're talking about, who went to the Elite 11 out of Hutto. I know he's a 4-star by 24/7 Sports, 3-star by Rivals, but yeah, he's one of those guys that they got on him early. And I think he is the real deal because the kid can not only pass, but
arm, right?
He can run too. He ran for a lot of yards last year. I think it was close to 1,000, if not 1,000 yards last year. So yeah, he's a great athlete. They've got another quarterback already there too from last year's class, Jake Strong. He was a 3-star kid. Yeah, he was a 3-star kid coming out of high school. So whether or not all those guys are going to stay, with the program, it remains to be seen. But
right.
They know that Tyler Shough is gone after this year. He'll go in the NFL draft. Behren Morton will likely play next year. He'll be the starter next year. Then he'll declare for the draft. Then you'll have Hammond and Strong, and then Joey Maguire. Another thing that he did was he built a great staff around him. He did. And it was sad to lose for them, when they had lost Emmett Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, when he went to Oklahoma. He was a good recruiter. He was there before, but he went at Tech, and then then when they had a coaching change with Matt Wells, that's when he went to KU.
Right.
And Emmett Jones went back to Tech, and then OU hired him. But they've got other guys who can recruit.
Oh man.
So that's not just Joey Maguire, but they've got assistant coaches who do a good job of find the right players. Have that same enthusiasm. And for Joey Maguire, it's not so much about the X's and O's. with these coaches, it's about, can they relate to people? How good are they with people?
Yeah, and something that you had brought up a few minutes ago was talking about that he was the president of the Texas High School Coaches Association. That is a huge, that's probably the most powerful, Texas high school football, first and foremost, is a very big thing. That's something that I can always remember back to, me being from New Mexico, but we're right on the border of Texas there. We can always go back to looking at Lee and Permian and those guys and then what they were doing back in those days. But it's like that all across the state, whether you're at a 5-6A school or you're at a 2A school, it's big time, right? This guy there's a lot of power within that coaches association, and he was in charge of it. It seems like, and Coach Roybal was talking about this the other day, that he connects with these coaches around the state better than anybody he's seen in a long time, as far as a coach is concerned. So he was comparing it to how the way Mac Brown used to be with the high school coaches when he was coaching in Texas, right?
Sure.
It seems like that's got to be a big part of it too, right? Because your high school coach is going to have a lot of influence on where you go, right?
Oh yeah, especially in this state, to be elected president of the Texas High School Coaches Association, you have to have a larger than life personality.
That's right.
Not just anybody can take that position.
Oh no.
And Joy McGuire is still revered in this state by the high school coaches. He talks highly of the Texas high school football programs. He called himself a high school coach who just happens to be coaching college football.
Yeah.
And so he still relates to those guys.
Yeah, definitely.
And and they're going to tell the players, man, this guy's great, and this is somebody you can trust. This is somebody you want to play for.
Right, right. And I think that's one of the things is like you were kind of talking about some of this earlier. And kids aren't stupid. They know when they're getting fed a load of crap and when they're not. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that's a big thing there too. But yeah, if you've got the backing of the guys that, they look to him and they know that. And then the other thing is you kind of look back to kind of what was going on. I think that Dave Aranda's a little odd, right? I think he's kind of shown that he's a little odd when it comes to, he's going to have some, obscure passage out of a book that nobody's ever read, you know what I mean, or even heard of for his team. Whereas Joey's going to connect to him on a different level, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that the year that they won the Sugar Bowl, and, while I will forever say that Okie Light choked that right up in the Big 12 championship game, I would tell you that a lot of people are starting to wonder now if it wasn't more due to the fact that, he had been there for a while. He constantly gives a lot of credit to Matt Rule, who's now at Nebraska, obviously, of being his mentor. He learned a lot from Matt. I think Matt's a great coach as well. But you kind of wondering if maybe Baylor isn't kicking themselves a little bit for not keeping him around themselves,
I like Dave Aranda. I think he's a guy. I think he's a total class act, and I don't know what happened last year at Baylor. Why that program didn't do as well as it probably could have. I know they lost a lot of talent from the year before.
They did.
Of course, that has a lot to do with it. But I think Dave Aranda is just so he doesn't get too high and doesn't get too low.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of Jerry Bohannon the year before either, but. Sapien, I thought he was okay. He did throw a lot of picks, but I think that was the knock on Max Duggan. That's why he didn't have his. That's why he wasn't the starter at the beginning of the season last year.
Right. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I think that
all of a sudden he proves that he's better than what people thought. What Sonny thought.
Yeah, poor Sonny, man. That dude has been underrated for a long time. You know what I mean? All he does is go in and kind of. He's taken over some programs that have been. It's a tough place to win.
Yeah, but he was also, to me, he had that Mike Leach mentality for a long time.
Sure.
It was like all about offense, not enough defense.
Right.
And maybe that's what got Lincoln Riley. Maybe that's what ticked off some people at OU, that he was all about the offense, not enough on the defense.
I think that's clear, and I think that the same thing happened. When he got to USC. To me, it's beyond my belief how you would hire Cliff Kingsbury and not go get help for your defensive coaches instead, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just won the Heisman. That's not the problem, Lincoln. It never has been, right? I mean, he can dial it, and I've said this 1,000 times. That look, Lincoln, there's nobody better at dialing up offense, and he's the difference between him and the rest of that Mike Leach tree was that he can run out of the air raid better than anybody else too, right? Mm-hmm. You know, he gets them going downhill and they can run on you. So I don't think that was the issue. I think that, but when you don't put enough into, I mean, he's never had a special teams coordinator ever. You know, they practiced it 30 minutes a week at Oklahoma. I don't know that they do any more at SC. And then it's just not enough emphasis on it. And I think that that's why you haven't seen somebody from that Leach tree win the whole thing. You just haven't seen it happen because of that. And I think that at some point, somebody's going to get it right. And they're going to figure out that, you're going to have to do that. Maybe Josh Heupel figures it out because of being at Tennessee and in the SEC that you're going to have to do it. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's Lincoln, who's to say? But I do feel like, I think from what you can tell with Maguire is, and the difference is because it seems like, well, Kitley kind of comes from that same tree, right? I mean, wasn't he with Sonny at one point?
Is that Kitley?
Yes.
No, he was with I came on through Kingsbury. Yeah.
Kingsbury. Okay. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So I mean, it's all basically the same trees. So.
They're all intertwined or whatever. Yeah. But I think the thing that you're seeing, though, with Joey Maguire is he's more of a defensive guy. We kind of talked about that. Mm-hmm. You had a top 10 defensive pick coming out of Texas Tech a year ago. I mean, or in the draft just a couple of months ago. That's a huge thing. It's something you're not used to seeing. Even Zach Thomas didn't go in the first round. You know what I mean? So it's, wow. And you just talked about some of the things that they're doing defensively and where his emphasis is. It seems like he has a lot of trust in Kitley to do his thing. He's going to put his emphasis on the defensive side. That's different, right, for Texas Tech? Isn't it?
Oh yeah, totally. He's a defensive-minded coach, and one of the things he said when he first got hired is that we're going to play defense at Texas Tech.
That's right.
And they've shown it. I mean, they've gotten better defensively. That defense helped them win some games last year, and they kept them in some games that they probably should have lost. Yep. And they're recruiting better too. They're getting guys not only can run, but with size, especially up front. Like we talked about earlier, they just recently picked up a pair of defensive ends from down the Houston area. One's 6'5", the other one's 6'7", both 250 pounds. Got a ton of potential. They're getting guys up front. Size,
the guys that you got to have.
Yeah, guys who can play in the Big 12. Because in the past, Texas Tech would get guys that were probably undersized, that were under the radar kind of guys.
Sure.
But these guys, you can tell, is like, they could play not only at Tech, but they could play at Texas. They could play at Texas A&M. They could play, at TCU, anywhere. Those are the kind of players they're getting now.
Right. Listen, I've been saying it, and it's kind of fun to watch it. Having covered them myself. I've been around you. I was at Hobbs. Obviously, which is back where I'm at right now with doing this podcast. But covering Tech whenever I was there, helping you cover them there at the MRT. This is kind of fun to see this program kind of turning it into something else, and particularly at a time when you see Oklahoma and Texas leaving, there's going to be a lot of change with the whole conference realignment, everything else. We don't have to get all into that. But you're probably going to see some of these Pac-12 teams coming over. They talk about the four corner schools with the Arizona schools, Utah, and then Colorado coming back and Coach Prime. You could see this kind of turning into a thing, but it appears to me like Joey Maguire, this staff, is kind of staking their claim to the new Big 12. And along with, obviously, TCU kind of did the same thing this past season. I would tell you that same thing with Kansas State. But, I mean, you're going to have some of these guys in. This seems like it's it might turn out to be one of the more competitive leagues in the country, don't you think?
Oh yeah, by far. Oh yeah. I mean,
A lot of good coaching talent, man.
You've got to expect Texas and OU. I mean, yeah, Texas is picked the favorite to win, but
Sure.
they should win every year with their talent. But to me, it's Kansas State.
Yes.
TCU lost some talent, but they're still going to be very competitive. They're going to be in the top 4 up there. I don't know what's going on at Oklahoma State. Last year they started off really well, and then all of a sudden,
so weird, right?
They just went, down the tubes for whatever reason, and then you see all these guys transfer out. So then they got Alan Bowman, who was at Tech at one point. So good luck with that. So I like Alan Bowman, but I thought they had better quarterbacks there.
I've been saying the same thing. And I've got a friend that he comes on a lot on our show, and Cody Stovall, he's with Locked On Oklahoma State. And he's going to tell you that they're going to be fine and that they're still going to, bet the over on them, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how you can do it. They have a soft schedule when it kind of when you look at the season of who they're going to be playing. But I feel like even he said that he thinks that Tech is a problem, a big problem, right? And I agree. I think that when you start looking at the teams that are going to take a step, I could see Tech finding its way into the Big 12 championship game this year if everything goes right. I think they're probably more fit for it next year. When you got to go to Texas, now is that a game that Texas could lose? Yeah, they lost it last year. I could see it happening again. I really could. They don't have Bijan Robinson anymore. You're not generally going to see Bijan put the ball on the turf like he did at the end of that game, which surprised me. You know what I mean? It really surprised me. But that's a big win. And those are the kind of games, the kind of wins that will make you realize that you can play with anybody, right? And as we said earlier, to me, it's one of those things. It's easy to say, we're behind this guy whenever things are going perfect, but they didn't go perfect at Tech last year. He's able to recruit with these guys. We talked a little bit about Ivan Carrion, who's from right around where you're at right now in Odessa, at Odessa High School. This is a 6'6", 200-pound receiver that's got some wheels, as you talked about. There's some talk about, and now he's been committed to Tech for a while, right?
Yes. Yeah. He got.
We did talk about Emmett Jones going to Oklahoma. That's who got him committed to Texas Tech. So there's been some discussion about whether or not that's going to happen. And I know you said that you hadn't heard anything about changing. I haven't heard him, changing his commitment yet either. There's some rumors out there because he was at the Champion Barbecue. But when you start looking at that and then you end up have a guy out there like Micah Hudson, you add two dominant style receivers like that, you could definitely end up doing that, a year later and being a real contender, right? With this quarterbacks that you've got in there, plus that defense. Yeah,
I mean, if there's any question about whether or not he's going to get, Ivan Carrion's going to get enough balls thrown his way at Tech, all they have to do is look at the offense. They're going to throw to him because they're going to throw to multiple receivers.
Sure.
This isn't a wing T offense where they're only going to throw to one receiver all the time. Okay? So, I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities. I mean, whether he wants to stay in I think it's going to come down to this.
That's a big target, bro.
Yeah, he's, and I think, he might even develop into a tight end.
Yeah.
If he puts on some weight, I mean, 6'6" receivers, you don't see very often unless they're just athletic freaks. I mean, the kid's very athletic and he's very talented. But I don't consider him a freak. I mean, he can be really good at the college level, but he could be an excellent tight end if he puts on some weight at 6'6". He can dominate.
Well, and tight ends is a different position than it used to be when we were kids. You know what I mean? And particularly in these kind of offenses and the way all the way up to the league at this point. It's changed so much from the way things used to be. The tight ends it's a big time deal. And if you're 6'6", man, and you can put that weight on and go play that position, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like Travis Kelce, that guy's putting up receiver numbers in the freaking NFL.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's probably the best receiver in the NFL right now, isn't he?
Absolutely. I don't think
he's a tight end, but I mean,
who's better? Who's better than
Patrick Mahomes? Trust your tight end, right?
Right. Of course,
he's putting up huge numbers.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Again, folks, if you're liking the content we're getting, we're going to start putting out some Texas Tech content week after week. If you're new to the show, please make sure that you subscribe to us. We're going to be putting out a lot of content. We want to see. We're going to cover the entire Big 12 on this program as well. So, but definitely being from around this area and having so many connections to these guys that are close to this program, I definitely wanted to bring this kind of content to you. I think that, and I've been telling a lot of my Oklahoma audience that I have, that be ready, because this is a team that is going to, I really believe it. This is a program that is going to make noise. I think the biggest question is whether or not you can keep him. If they go out there and they win a Big 12 championship and you haven't seen Sark do his thing, and maybe say he survives through this season in his first year in the SEC, you go out and win a Big 12 championship in the next couple of years, and you're doing the recruiting the way that Joey McGuire and this staff is doing things. And I think that you're definitely going to see Texas putting a hardcore, and you could see A&M doing the same thing, because I think it's a dumpster fire in College Station. We've been talking about that with Jimbo. I mean, good grief, man. Now that buyout is awfully big. That buyout is awfully big.
That's what's keeping him there.
I think it is big. I mean, do you think? I mean, I'll just ask you this question: How do you see Petrino working out there, though? I don't see Jimbo giving that up, man. Not Will.
I don't know what to think of Bobby Petrino. I mean, I think
that he can dial it up. I just don't think that Jimbo is going to allow him to call plays like they want him to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a possibility, or it could help save Jimbo's job. If
I would agree with you there. Yeah.
But it could also be worse. And I'm a betting man, as you know.
Yeah.
I like to go to Las Vegas. So I'm going to bet it's going to be a dumpster fire with Bob Petrino. So
yeah, man.
But it could be great for Jimbo if things go well. But
I think that Jimbo needs to allow it to go well. But I don't think that he's just that stubborn guy that he believes that his offenses are great. And I think at one point they were, right. One point they were, but they just kind of passed him by. But one thing about Petrino. As far as his, personal life's concerned, you don't want to bet on him doing good things there. But drawing up plays and getting points, that he can do, right? Mm-hmm. He was doing it at Arkansas State. You know what I mean? He's doing things. He did it at Arkansas. He did it everywhere he's been. He's done that. So, even if they start off winning, I feel like Jimbo's going to do something that's going to be like he's just going to take it away somehow and get involved where he doesn't need to be and muddy up the mess, because in the end, I mean, he's got all the leverage. They owe him $88 million. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's I mean, what are you going to do? They owe him a lot of money. So does he really have to change anything? No, he doesn't. And I think that he showed in spring practice that, it was still a lot of, you can expect him to call the plays, but we'll see. I don't foresee that going well. That being said, if it does, I think talent-wise, Texas A&M's got enough talent that if he does do it, that it could save his career, and they could go deep. They could. Mm-hmm. I'll believe it when I see it out of Aggie. That's all I got to say about that. But listen, I could definitely see that would be the biggest problem that I would see for Texas Tech, is because of the fact that even if he builds this program into something, which it appears that he's going to do that do you have enough to keep a hold of him? That's the question, and so I hope so. I'd hate to see, because I got to tell you, I don't want to see a guy, as an Oklahoma guy, I don't want to see a Joey McGuire with those kind of, with that kind of money behind him and backing behind him at a place like A&M or Texas, right? I don't think anybody probably does if you're not a Texas or A&M fan. You know, that's just me. I'd hope they keep a hold of him. Tell me, what do you got going? What do you got coming up here? Obviously, the high school football season's getting ready to get underway. What do you guys got coming up at the MRT?
Well, we're taking the R&R right now. A lot of vacation time, that's for sure. There's some golf tournaments coming up, but yeah, coming up soon. Preparing for the football season. Started getting previews together. The first Monday in August is when all the high schools start practicing around here. So
2 days in the heat.
Yeah, and it's if they can avoid the 110-degree weather like we've had, I think they'll be fine. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what's coming up. It's just starting to prepare for football season, and hopefully it's a good one. We'll see. We got some kids with talent here. I don't know if we have a state championship contender, but we do have some talent out here. So Ivan Carrion being one over at Odessa High.
Yeah.
Marcus Davila over at Legacy High School, who's committed to Purdue, the quarterback. So
wow,
he's a 4-star quarterback too. So
Legacy, that's there in Midland.
Yes, used to be Lee High School.
Okay. Oh yeah,
it's a Legacy.
I forgot about that, man. I'd forgotten.
We don't want to mention that too often to some of the.
No, we don't need to talk about that. I get that.
LHS fans.
Yeah, I get it. Hey,
it is what it is,
Yeah, well, tell us how to find you and tell us how to find your stuff, and definitely we're gonna be checking back with you throughout the season. Look forward to doing that as well. So just tell us how to find you.
Yeah, just go look at our stories on mrt.com. I think we're the premier news source for the Permian Basin. I think we prove that every day. You're going to find me on Twitter, LeRoy, OLEROY, MRT. So you can find me on Twitter there, and just social media, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely keep up with you, and can't wait to have you on more and more, Oscar. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. We definitely will be checking back with you on some of this stuff as well. And thanks for the insight into that. Having covered the program for as long as you have, being there 26 years, I couldn't think of a better person to really talk to about this. We've got some other connections there in Lubbock and stuff, but I agree with you. I think that you are the premier news source there in this area for sports in Texas and West Texas. So it's the place to be. So thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate that, and we'll see you here coming up soon as well. Okay.
All right, Jason. Thank you as always, man.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Folks, make sure that you hit that like button, get over there and subscribe to the MRT at mrt.com. And then again, his Twitter is at OLEROYMRT on Twitter. Make sure you stay up. You're going to stay up to date with everything Texas Tech and West Texas high school football by doing just that. We will see everybody on the next one. We will definitely be bringing out more and more Texas Tech content as we get closer to the season. Now 59 days from the start of the college football season. I know I can't wait. I know you can't either. We'll see you on the next one. Hey, you guys all know the drill, right? Say it with me. Smash that red subscriber button. Like our videos. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Hey, we even have amazing pod merchandise right here in our store. Hey, while you're here, don't forget to check out all these other amazing channels and subscribe to them too.